Greetings, my friends, and welcome to a version of virtual Lent yoga via YouTube here. I miss you and wish we were practicing together, but hope these little short, simple practices provide a nice supplement to your Lenten season and any other spiritual practice that you have. So we'll begin this one, we'll do some gentle warm-ups and then come to some standing postures. So beginning just very briefly in a seated position. Legs can be bent or they can be straight out in front of you. And maybe just some household items that you might want, maybe a blanket to sit on or perhaps a cushion just to help elevate the hips a little bit. And if you don't have blocks, then maybe some books or something like that, some sort of other supports will work perfectly well also. So just finding a comfortable seat here just to begin and arrive and get ourselves centered. Beginning to root down through the hips and rise up through the spine and the crown of the head. Taking a deep inhale, expanding the ribs and the chest and the belly. A long, slow, present exhale. And then maybe just closing the eyes or finding a soft gaze in front of you. Bringing the hands to heart center to prayer position here. Taking another deep breath. And softly opening the eyes. And we'll begin with just a few rounds of sun breath here, giving thanks for what is a sunny but otherwise very cold day. So inhaling, bringing both arms up. Exhaling, hands to heart center. 2 more times, inhaling, both arms up. Exhaling, hands to heart center. And once more, inhaling, both arms up. And exhaling, bringing our hands to heart center and giving thanks for another day regardless. So from here, we'll make our way into tabletop pose, so feel free to pad your knees with a blanket or a cushion and have your blocks or books or supports nearby. And just finding a good foundation here with the shoulders over the wrists, keeping the hips over the knees here, and just beginning to nod the head yes and no. And then we'll add some cats and cows here, beginning here at the base of the spine, drawing the shoulder blades together, shining the heart forward. And as you exhale, rounding, creating space between the vertebrae, between the backs of the shoulders, gazing towards the thighs. Inhale, shining the heart forward. Exhale, rounding like a Halloween cat. Just a few of these at your own breath, your own pace. And coming back to center, finding a neutral spine here. And then beginning to place this right foot up in between the hands. And then coming up to balance on that left knee. Inhaling, bringing the arms up overhead, interlacing the hands, placing them behind the head, and gently open up the chest as you come a little ways forward, opening up this left hip flexor here. Noticing a few breaths. And releasing the hands down to blocks or books or other supports, and beginning to straighten this right leg, taking the toes up towards the ceiling, still keeping the left knee and hip in good alignment here, maybe shifting this right hip backward if it wants to go forward. And coming into our half splits. And then either either staying upright here or maybe taking a gentle forward fold over that extended leg. Inhaling, coming back up, and then we'll take that little pass through one more time. So placing that right foot flat onto the mat here, bringing the arms up overhead, interlacing them, coming forward into a low lunge, opening the hip flexor, and then transitioning into our half splits here. So gently taking the toes up towards the ceiling, making any little adjustments in your movements. Inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, folding forward. And coming back up. And then bringing this right knee back underneath the hip and placing the left foot up in between the hands here. And we'll play with this on the other side. So finding our balanced low lunge here, inhaling both arms up, interlacing the hands, gently coming forward, saying hello to that right hip flexor here. And then slowly transitioning into our half split. So bringing the hands to blocks, taking the left toes up towards the ceiling, making any little adjustments. Inhale and lengthen. Exhaling, folding forward. And then coming back up. We'll do that once more. So placing that front foot onto the mat. Bringing both arms up overhead, interlacing the hands. Coming into our low lunge. Just connecting with yourself and your breath here. And then slowly transitioning into our half splits. And then bringing this left knee back underneath the hips here. Coming onto our knees here. And taking just a baby camel pose. Just a very gentle back bend. So bringing the hands to the sacral spine with the fingers facing down. And then beginning to just lift the chest again. And then coming back through to the center. From here, using the blocks for supports, stepping whichever foot you would like forward, lifting up that back knee, and then stepping the other foot forward as well. Finding a forward fold here, using the blocks for support. And then on an inhale, coming up one vertebrae at a time. Inhaling, both hands up overhead, and exhaling, hands back to our heart center, mountain pose, Tadasana here. So moving down through the feet and lengthening up through the spine and the crown of the head. Just keeping the joints stacked on top of one another. Good. And then from here, we'll begin to very gently shift our weight into that right leg, the right side of the body. And then bringing the sole of that left foot maybe here to the ankle, maybe here along the calf, just avoiding the knee area. You can also use a block or a book to support that foot, or perhaps find a nearby wall if that would be helpful. Bringing both hands to heart center here, and growing branches on your tree. Knowing that soon trees will be in bloom. And from here, we'll bring the hands back down and then step this left leg back into warrior two foot pattern. So keeping that back foot parallel with the back edge of the mat, front knee over the ankle, settling in here. Keeping the hips over the shoulders. exhaling forward into extended side angle. Reaching, 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 one long line of energy from the left fingertips to the heel. And then coming back up through our warrior two here. And then from here, option to toe heel that back foot in a little ways so that the legs are just about maybe 3 feet apart. Shifting the hips backward, straightening the front knee, reaching, reaching, reaching forward, and then bringing that hand to your shin, a block or a book, or perhaps the floor. Finding triangle pose, so drawing the shoulder blades together here. And you can either look down at that front foot or up at that top hand. And then using the breath, coming back up immediately into a reverse triangle. So again, upper arm towards the cheek, a strong straight front leg, and then coming back into our warrior two foot pattern. Now from here, we'll do a little bit of a flow, connecting the breath and movement. So on an inhale, straightening the front knee, bringing the palms to touch overhead. Exhaling back through to warrior two. Inhaling, palms touch. Exhaling back to warrior two. And inhaling, palms touch. Exhaling back to warrior two. And then gently begin to toe heel that back foot in even closer. And then as you're able, taking some steps toward the front of the mat. And we'll meet again in Tadasana mountain pose. Just taking a moment here to reconnect with yourself and the breath. And then beginning to shift the weight of the body into that left leg, really, really rooting down through that left foot. And beginning to bring the sole of that right foot, again, maybe here to the calf, and the ankle, maybe a little further up the leg. And then option to begin here, bringing the hands to heart center. And then growing branches on your tree. Taking a moment to appreciate trees here. And then slowly beginning to step backwards into warrior two. So settling in. Soft gaze over that front hand. And reverse the warrior, opening the front of the body. And then slowly come forward. Finding extended side angle. One long line of energy from the right heel to the fingertips. Inhaling, coming back up through to warrior two. And then heel toeing that back foot in a little ways, shortening your stance some, if that would be helpful. Straightening the front knee, shifting the hips backward, reaching, 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 reaching forward. And finding our triangle pose. So again, using a block to support that hand or a book. And then rotating the chest. Drawing the shoulder blades together. And just noticing the breath here. And using both the abdominals and the breath. Coming back up and immediately into reverse triangle here. Really stretching open the front of the body. And then coming back into warrior two. Staying here for a breath. And then heel toeing that back foot in just a little bit further. And then stepping it up to meet the front foot. Finding our mountain pose. Tadasana once again. taking some breaths here in our mountain pose. And then from our mountain pose, we'll slowly come back down to the mat and have a seat once more. And for this next posture, we'll take butterfly pose. So having a nice open V here with the legs, bringing the soles of the feet together with a nice big diamond in front of you. And then finding a block or a book. And then just beginning to round the spine, slowly resting the forehead onto your block or your support. Coming back to the breath. And then if that doesn't quite feel right for you, one option would be to find another block or book and place it underneath it. Bring the floor to you. And if none of that feels right, you can begin to draw the heels towards the body a little bit. And just placing the forearms sort of close to the knees. And just work on lengthening the spine and opening up the groin area a little bit. And then beginning to come up from either the butterfly pose or the cobbler's pose here. And extending the legs out in front of you. First finding staff pose, so taking the toes straight up towards the ceiling and engaging the pelvis and the spine. And then just beginning to relax the legs a little bit. And then bringing the feet to the outer edges of the mat here, keeping the knees bent. And then just beginning, kind of windshield wiper the legs and knees to one side, and then the other. Giving some relief to the hips here. And then from this posture, if you're sitting on something to support the hips, then come off it and put the prop off to the side. We'll come back to it later. And then removing any flesh from the thighs so that you're really connecting with the sit bones here. We'll do one more sort of abdominal core engaging pose. So one option here is Navasana for boat pose, is just keeping the hands underneath the knees and keeping the heels on the earth, taking the toes up towards the ceiling, and just working to lengthen the spine and drawing the belly towards it here. You want to go a little bit further and taking the ankles up off the mat, keeping the calves parallel here, just noticing whether the work goes from the belly into the legs. And then the full pose if you want to try, straightening the legs and bringing the arms out to the sides here. So again, that's one option. The halfway version, or what one of my teachers calls the mellow Navasana, right here. And then once you've had enough, slowly lowering the legs back straight onto the mat and slowly beginning to make your way onto your back. And keeping a block or a book nearby. Beginning to bend the legs, keeping the feet close to the body, and finding your nearby block or book here. Keeping it on its flat side, its lowest register, lifting the hips and sliding the block underneath your sacrum, the sacred bone at the base of the spine. And just taking a few breaths here in supported bridge pose. And then either staying right here, and that this is also an inversion, lifting the heart just above the head a little ways. You can also take the legs up towards the ceiling. And then maybe pointing and flexing the feet a little bit. Maybe finding a wide-legged V with your legs. Maybe scissoring them a bit. Just whatever feels good for about 10 breaths or so. And then beginning to lower the legs back down, bringing the feet to the earth, lifting the hips and removing the blocker book out from underneath you. And then just lowering onto your back here. From here, just drawing the knees in towards your chest, giving yourself a little lower back massage. And then from here, as I know we're recording here, you can certainly transition into a Shavasana, or final relaxation pose, finding some socks or a blanket or perhaps some layers, maybe some support underneath the knees or underneath the head and neck. Or if you prefer, coming gently back up to a seated position. And then bringing the hands to heart center once more. And I'll just end with a very short metta prayer. That's, may all beings know compassion, may all beings know peace, and may all beings know love. As the yogis say, the light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste.